like that this year, I just wanted to tell you guys not to be discouraged.
On this ad, so one, and they did this like every 20 to 30 minutes, like clockwork.
David Anthony Burke, known professionally as D4VD, is no longer just fighting a public scandal. He is fighting a capital murder case, and according to prosecutors in Los Angeles, the evidence they plan to present is physical, digital, forensic, and deeply damaging. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office says Burke was charged with murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains after the body of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found in the front trunk of a Tesla registered to him. Prosecutors also added special circumstance allegations, including murder of a witness, murder for financial gain, and lying in wait. Burke has pleaded not guilty, and under the law, he is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court. But while the courtroom battle is still ahead, Burke is already facing another battle inside custody. Reports say he has been kept away from other inmates because of his fame and the notoriety of the case. TMZ reported that he was being held in a segregated cell, allowed showers every other day with phone calls only on shower days, limited recreation time, no TV access, no visitors, and no money on his books at that time. ABC7 also reported that he was segregated away from other inmates because of how high profile the case had become. That matters because this case is not being viewed like an ordinary celebrity arrest. The allegations involve a minor, a homicide, mutilation of remains, and an alleged motive tied to protecting a music career. Prosecutors claim Celeste threatened to expose damaging information about the relationship, and that Burke killed her after inviting her to his Hollywood Hills home. The defense says the actual evidence will prove Burke did not murder Celeste and was not the cause of her death. But for now, the pressure around the case is only growing.
How are defenders and treated in prison? They got treated bad. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't even think nothing about that. I just know that it was like every 15 to 20 minutes that went past, guys was going past this one cell. And it'd be like, there's three of them. One of them would grab the cell door and be on this side like this, and then the other two would be on this side. So the one, and they did this like every 20 to 30 minutes, like clockwork. And this one would yank the door open, and the other two on this side had cups full of and boo-boo. So when he yanked the door open, they just throw the cups of boo-boo in there on him, and then close the door, lock it on him. You know, so that was crazy. But and then some was getting jumped on, some was getting slapped, extorted, some was having to do.
That jailhouse reality is exactly why Burke's custody situation matters so much. Even if he is separated from the general population, the public nature of the charges creates a dangerous environment. The prosecution's case includes first-degree murder allegations, special circumstances, and accusations tied to a minor. Those are the kinds of charges that can make an inmate a target, especially in a facility already described in reports as harsh and difficult, and this is where the legal side becomes even more serious. Prosecutors are not simply saying a tragedy happened and Burke was connected to the car. They are saying this was planned, motivated, and followed by attempts to destroy evidence. That is why the next legal breakdown is so important.
First of all, we suspected that David would be charged with after that was what he was arrested for, and in other court documents that came out a couple months ago, we know that he was being investigated for murder. But first-degree murder with special circumstances? Lying in wait to murdering a witness as part of an investigation? Murdering for financial gain, and now facing the possibility of the death penalty, even though it's my understanding there is a moratorium in California. That is a huge deal.
The charges alone were already serious, but the case became even more intense once court documents and subpoena fights pulled Burke's family into the investigation. According to City News Service reporting published by ABC 10 News, Texas court documents confirmed that Burke's parents were served subpoenas connected to the Los Angeles County grand jury investigation, and his brother Caleb Burke was also summoned to appear in California court. A Texas judge ordered them to comply. That detail is important because prosecutors appear to be trying to understand who knew what, when they knew it, and how much Celeste's presence around Burke was visible to people close to him. Reporting on the case says Celeste spent time with Burke in different places, including his Hollywood Hills home and trips outside California. The Guardian reported that prosecutors said she traveled with him to Las Vegas, London, and Texas, where she met his family. For investigators, family testimony can matter in more than one way. It may help establish a timeline. It may help confirm whether Celeste was around Burke's home, whether people saw them together, or whether anyone noticed anything unusual before or after April 23, 2025, the day prosecutors say Celeste arrived at Burke's Hollywood Hills home and was never seen again. That is why an old live stream suddenly becomes more than random internet footage. If prosecutors believe a background, a house, a family gathering, or a casual moment on camera helps prove Celeste was around Burke's inner circle, then even a short clip can become part of the larger timeline.
Background.
Yo, wait.
Oh, look it. Answer that one. That's so mean if you don't answer
Which
that.
one? What's good, David? Big fan, Oh, thank you. Mitchell.
I gotta stop with him if you even.
Are we
We need to delete this.
Maz, can we delete all VODs? And then as soon as the stream ends, delete the stream too?
But prosecutors are not only focused on whether Celeste was around Burke's family, they are also focused on what happened inside the home, who may have known afterward, and whether anyone else can explain details investigators believe would be hard to know without a witness. In one of the most disturbing allegations reported from the prosecution's filing, authorities claim Burke attacked Celeste multiple times and then stood by while she died. The defense denies the murder allegation, but if prosecutors are making a claim that specific, the obvious question becomes, how would they know that level of detail? That is why the witness angle is so important.
Defendants multiple times and stood by while she out. How do they know that?
How do they know that he stood there? Because, look, I got to tell you, as an old investigator, you know where I get that kind of information from? It's not from the perpetrator. To say someone stands there and watches an individual out, that comes from a witness.
After that, the case shifts from the alleged killing itself to what prosecutors say happened afterward. According to Reuters, prosecutors filed a court brief alleging Burke bought items online under a fictitious name, including 2 chainsaws, a shovel, a cadaver bag, heavy-duty bags, and a blue inflatable pool, and had them delivered to his Hollywood Hills home after Celeste was killed. Prosecutors allege the pool was used to contain blood while the body was dismembered. Burke has pleaded not guilty, and his attorneys maintain that the evidence will show he did not kill Celeste. The details are not just horrifying. Legally, they are central to the prosecution's theory. Prosecutors are trying to show planning, concealment, and consciousness of guilt. They also allege Celeste's remains were later found in 2 bags inside the front trunk of Burke's Tesla after the vehicle had been abandoned and impounded. The DA's office says the remains sat there for more than 4 months before being discovered at a tow yard. On September 8, 2025, ABC 7 reported that the medical examiner listed Celeste's cause of death as multiple penetrating injuries and ruled the manner of death a homicide. The report also described advanced decomposition and mutilation, including missing fingers, while prosecutors have alleged one finger contained a tattoo connected to Burke. So when investigators talk about unusual items inside the home, they are not just talking about strange purchases. They are talking about the evidence they believe connects the home, the car, the timeline, and the alleged cleanup.
Evidence.
I've been wondering just what it was that a private investigator named Steve Fisher found inside David's home when he was given access last October. The PI reported seeing, quote, items you would expect to find on a farm rather than in a home in the Hollywood Hills. And today, we are learning about one of those items.
One of the biggest questions from the public has been simple. If the Tesla was registered to Burke and Celeste's remains were found inside it in September 2025, why did it take until April 2026 for an arrest? LAPD officials have said the investigation required patience because they did not want to jeopardize the case. ABC 7 reported that Los Angeles Police Chief Jim McDonald said the amount of time between Celeste's death and the discovery of her remains meant key evidence had degraded or disappeared, making the investigation more difficult. At the same time, investigators were building the case through multiple angles. ABC News reported a timeline showing the discovery in September, the search of a Hollywood Hills property, court documents identifying Burke as a target in the grand jury investigation, and then his April 2026 arrest and charges. There was also a witness angle. ABC 10 News reported that Neil Langston, described as a social media personality and friend of D4VD, was arrested in Montana after failing to appear as a witness in the case and was being extradited to Los Angeles County. The same report said it was unclear at that time exactly where he had been summoned to appear and for what purpose. So this case was not just about one car. It was about digital evidence, home searches, witnesses, subpoenas, forensic evidence, and the timeline investigators were still trying to lock down.
You know who that person is, and do you believe that is the person that moved the Tesla?
So I definitely know who moved that Tesla on that late July before they went on tour. I can't say who the person, and I don't mean I can't say I don't know who exactly was in the house because it's just a report, but there's video, but you can't make a person out. But somebody was in the house, and being that there's only one key, it's like, okay, who had access at that time? So is it the same person that moved the Tesla? Was another last part of the plan about to go in motion as far as getting rid of her? I don't know.
And then there is Burke's own public image, the interviews, the art, the alter ego, and the way fans are now rewatching old clips through the lens of this case. On their own, old interviews do not prove guilt. But when a defendant is facing a murder case, prosecutors, analysts, and the public look back at everything differently. That is why this next clip started getting attention.
Basically, an agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego, and the story of the manga went like I was a detective and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments, kind of like Fight Club with Tyler Durden. And he would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as the detective. So like when I was as the detective, I'd be like solving that I'm committing myself. And it was like a cool little story. I didn't think anything would come of it, like it was in the vault.
After that interview resurfaced, people online started connecting it to the darker themes in Burke's music and image. But legally, the stronger issue is not symbolism. It is whether prosecutors can connect real evidence to real actions. According to the DA's office, Burke is accused of inviting Celeste to his home on April 23, 2025, after which she was never seen again. ABC7 reported that prosecutors believe Celeste was last known alive that day and that the same date was tied to Burke's world tour pre-sale. Prosecutors have framed the alleged motive as career protection, saying Celeste had threatened to expose damaging information. That is why any video recorded near that time becomes important to investigators. They are not only listening to what Burke says, they are looking at where he is when the video was created, what the metadata shows, and whether the background matches any location connected to Celeste.
Hey guys, I know I haven't posted on this account in a little minute, but I just had some words to share with you for 2025. Despite all the craziness that's going on, all the turmoil, the natural disasters, the pain and things like that this year, I just wanted to tell you guys not to be discouraged and not to lose hope and not to turn your face from God in these times of evil. And it seems like it's the most insane start to a year that I've ever seen. But God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. So keep that sound mind 2025. Stay prayed up.
That video stood out because of the timing and the tone. Burke talks about pain, turmoil, evil, and not losing hope. On its own, that kind of message could mean many things. But investigators reportedly look at videos like this alongside metadata, location clues, the timeline, and everything else they have collected. The prosecution's broader theory is that Celeste was killed after threatening to expose Burke, and that the aftermath involved efforts to hide or destroy evidence. Reuters reported that prosecutors say he went on tour after disposing of the body, while ABC7 reported that his remaining tour dates were later canceled after the remains were discovered. There was also financial scrutiny around Burke. TMZ reported in October 2025 that Burke transferred deeds for 2 Houston-area homes to his mother after the investigation had already become public. TMZ said the homes were owned under a trust and the transfers were shown in legal documents. That does not automatically prove wrongdoing. But in a major criminal case, asset movement can raise questions about timing, motive, and possible future civil or criminal financial exposure. That is why legal analysts started discussing whether transfers made during an investigation can be challenged later.
You know, transferring these assets in the middle of an investigation, as opposed to 2 years ago or a year ago.
Right.
Could a court look at this and say, this was a deliberate attempt to, what you say, concealing assets, and they could breach it, they could pierce it, they could say, even though that you've transferred this into your mother's name, that was invalid. This is a way for, let's say, a plaintiff who sues him, or let's say in a criminal judgment to pay that fine. Can a court look at that and say, even though you transferred it, it's still open season on those properties.
Yeah, this is what's so puzzling about this. It is a very basic premise of law throughout the country that you can't transfer assets after the event happens that would otherwise trigger collecting on those assets. So we have rules in different states. Sometimes they're called fraudulent transfers. Sometimes they're called fraudulent conveyances. There's a lot of different names for them. But the crux of it is you cannot transfer assets.
Now the case is moving toward the next major legal stage. Fox 11 reported that Burke's preliminary hearing was pushed to the 29th of June 2026, after his defense team requested more time to review a large amount of evidence from prosecutors. So the question is no longer just what people believe online. The real question is what the evidence will show in court and whether prosecutors can prove every allegation beyond a reasonable doubt